Migrants in Albanian offshore camp must be returned to Italy. Court rules in blow to scheme. Published by The Telegraph. Plan hailed as an innovative solution to migration crisis thrown into doubt just days after the first asylum seekers arrive at facility. An Italian court has dealt a major blow to Giorgia Meloni's multi-million euro plan to send migrants to an offshore camp in Albania by ruling that they cannot remain there and must all be brought back to Italy. The first group of 16 Egyptian and Bangladeshi men arrived at the facilities in northern Albania on Wednesday at the start of what had been hailed as an innovative new way of dealing with Europe's illegal migration crisis. The model was being closely watched by other European countries, including Britain. The 16 men were rescued in the central Mediterranean this month, but instead of being shipped to Italian shores, as has happened with tens of thousands of migrants and refugees, they were transported to the Adriatic coast of Albania in an Italian Navy ship. A bilateral accord drawn up by Rome and Tirana last year envisages migrants being taken to the port of Schengen in northern Albania and then transported by bus to a brand new facility that was built on a former Albanian Air Force base dating back to the Cold War, next to the village of Jadar, about 15 miles inland. There they are meant to have their asylum requests assessed. Under the plan, they would be either deemed genuine refugees fleeing war or persecution, in which case they will be sent to Italy, or economic migrants, in which case they should be sent back to their home countries. The conservative coalition run by Ms. Meloni had hoped that the system could handle as many as 36,000 migrants and refugees a year. But a ruling on Friday by a court in Rome has now thrown the entire 5-year scheme, estimated to cost €670 million, £557 million, into doubt. The court ruled that the migrants cannot be sent back to Bangladesh and Egypt because they are not safe countries. Judges ruled that 12 migrants should be taken to Italy. 4 others had already been spared repatriation because they were deemed to be minors under the age of 18 or in a vulnerable physical state. The court said it had decided not to validate the detention of the migrants, due to the impossibility of recognizing as safe countries the states of provenance of the people held. The Rome court's ruling was in line with a decision handed down last week by the European Court of Justice, ECJ, which limited the definition of what can be considered a safe country. The ECJ said that countries such as Egypt and Bangladesh cannot be declared safe unless their entire territory is free of dangers. The decision by the court in Rome was met with fury by Ms. Meloni's hard-right party, Brothers of Italy. Absurd. The court does not validate the detention of migrants in Albania, the party wrote on X. Politicized judges have decided that there are no safe countries of origin. It is impossible to detain those who enter illegally. It is forbidden to repatriate illegal immigrants. They want to abolish Italy's borders. We will not let them. Even before the Rome court's ruling, the scheme had got off to a distinctly shaky start. Critics questioned why the first batch of migrants sent to Albania had consisted of just 16 men. The cost of transporting them from the central Mediterranean to northern Albania was estimated by opposition MPs to be at least €18,000 per person. Matteo Villa, a senior researcher with the ISPI think tank in Rome, said the Italy-Albania scheme had proved a flop, just days after it had begun. The difficulty of sending migrants back to their countries of origin meant that the plan was always likely to fail. I had no hopes that it would work, but I'm surprised that it went so bad, so fast. It was always destined to be a disaster. It is mind-boggling that it went ahead in the first place, he told The Telegraph. He said that on the basis of the Rome court's ruling, there is now only one African country to which migrants could be repatriated: Cape Verde. Migrant numbers under Italian PMs. The number of migrants arriving by boat each year since 2014. Italian Prime Minister in office. The government has limited options in trying to keep the offshore scheme alive. They can legally try to circumvent it, but it's going to be very hard, said Mr. Villa. Matteo Piantedosi, the Interior Minister, said the government would appeal against the court's ruling. We will move forward with the objective to affirm our position through the relevant institutional channels, through the judicial mechanism, he said. Ignazio La Russa, a founder and senior member of Brothers of Italy, said he was astonished by the court's ruling. Ellie Schlein, the head of the center-left Democratic Party, said she knew the Italian court would rule against the detention of the migrants, not because we are clairvoyants, but because we read the laws. She told the Prime Minister, "Dismantle everything and apologize to the Italians. Far from being a model, the agreement you made with Albania violates international, European and national law." The setback comes as Ms. Meloni's stock in the EU is high, with many European countries echoing her calls for a tougher migration policy. The Albania model has been cited as inspiration for the idea of EU offshore deportation camps for failed asylum seekers. That was discussed at a European Council summit on Thursday, despite having been previously ruled out by Brussels as neither feasible or desirable. Ms. Meloni touted the Albania model as a new, courageous, unprecedented path that would allow more failed migrants to be repatriated. She said earlier this week that while the Albania model had excited interest from several European countries, it was being undermined by attacks from opposition MPs. The Italian left thinks only of attacking our initiatives in a gratuitous manner. Defending our borders and stopping human trafficking is not just our duty, but a priority for Italy and all of Europe.